GM stock price, it's, if you look at the last 5 years, not real great. Things are not going great if you're an investor. And I frankly feel for you if you bought this stock, 5 to 10 years ago. But GM stock has just had a bit of a bounce back for, I think, a pretty good reason. Here's what's going on. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. My name is Sam Evans and I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Welcome back, everyone else. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing and supporting the channel. It's wonderful to see you. GM stock has rallied on bigger than expected Q3 sales jump and 3 cheaper EVs on track for 2023. Now, I'm going to share with you what's happened and what the market is saying. Then I'm going to give you my take on whether that's true. Now, remember, the market said, analysts told us, General Motors would have 17 new electric cars available for sale. Now, they said in October of 2022, GM would have 17 electric vehicles, 17 different models, not 17 total vehicles, available for sale now, as in October. So you need to actually sometimes take with a grain of salt what the market says. But first, here's what's going on. GM on Monday delivered a big and better than expected jump in US auto sales for the third quarter. GM stock rallied Monday on news that vehicle inventories are starting to improve and more affordable new electric vehicles are coming in 2023. Stellantis, Toyota Motor Corporation, and Honda all disclosed on Monday that US new vehicle sales fell for them in Q3, though the Japanese auto giants did better than feared. Car stocks rose broadly after a CarMax demand warning sent them tumbling last week. Now, Ford has not yet reported its sales for either September or Q3. Tesla has reported their global deliveries on Sunday. They missed so-called consensus views. However, they did produce the number of vehicles consensus views expected them to, which was around 370,000 cars. They just didn't deliver them, as right now Tesla is waiting for more cost-efficient transport. Tesla is very, very obsessed with margins. Fair enough, as you should be. They make industry-leading margins, and they want to keep it that way. So I don't think the news on Tesla is such a negative. In fact, I don't think it's a negative at all. 345,000 vehicle deliveries plus inventory of around 25,000 cars means we're looking at 370,000 vehicles for Tesla for the third quarter. Tesla is saying they plan to hit 500,000 vehicle deliveries in the fourth quarter of this year. To me, that is the most important because that would put them at a run rate of 2 million vehicles per year. In fact, I think their run rate will be higher than that by the time we get to December. As you can see, I'm pretty bullish on Tesla stock. Q3 US auto sales are modestly lower. The annualized pace of US new electric vehicle sales in September is expected to reach 13.3 million units, roughly in line with August, Cox Automotive estimates. By volume, sales in the third quarter are seen reaching nearly 3.4 million units, down slightly both year over year and quarter over quarter, following a sharp second quarter slump. The truth is, sales last year were down, depressed because of coronavirus scenario, right? People are shut down, less people are buying cars, and of course, companies are struggling with production and parts and semiconductors, etc. So the truth is, sales figures in the third quarter of this year actually pretty disappointing when you look at it in the long-term sales perspective. In Q3, the US auto market was still stuck in low gear. That's the truth, as supplies are slowly improving, Cox said. For GM, Q3 sales rose year over year, but still fell quarter over quarter. GM did outsell Toyota again last quarter. I believe that this will be the status quo from now. I don't believe Toyota will actually regain that crown. Obviously, Toyota only briefly took the crown from General Motors as the biggest seller of vehicles in the US. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think, in fact, Toyota will eventually fall to maybe 4th or 5th place, but I'm talking 8 years down the line here, 2030, long-term predictions. I'll put a link in the description below to my video about my long-term 2030 predictions for vehicle sales. Clearly, Toyota are not really in on EVs, therefore I believe that they'll fall out of the top 5, no longer be the world's largest automaker. Here is how automakers are expected to perform in Q3 according to Cox Automotive. General Motors Q3 sales estimate 540,000 vehicles, up 21%. Results: GM sold 555,580 vehicles in Q3, up 24% year over year. However, GM's Q3 sales were down from 575,911 in Q2. The 2023 launch of new, more affordable EVs, including the Chevrolet Silverado pickup, the electric pickup, the electric Blazer SUV, and the electric SUV Equinox for $30,000 US, GM say it will cost in base variation, are on schedule, say General Motors. Like other traditional automakers, GM is making a critically important shift to EVs from gas and diesel-powered cars. GM stock rose 3.5% in Monday's stock market action. Shares sank nearly 10% last week and remain below the 50-day and 200-day moving averages. Now, to give you some context on General Motors' real performance over the long term, 5 years ago, General Motors stock was at $33 US. Today, GM stock is sitting at $32 US, meaning you would have made a loss if you factor in inflation over that 5-year period of time. GM's price to earnings ratio at the moment is very low at 6.3, meaning it would appear as good value if you believe in GM's claims that they are all in on EVs and that they can outsell Tesla in 2025. As you guys know, I believe that's a fantasy. Do I believe GM is all in on EVs though? Yeah, I do. I do think they are all in on EVs, but what that means comes down to interpretation. They think they're all in. Are they really all in? No, not really. Not. Of course they're not, because they can't be. If they did go all in completely, in a way like BYD did, they'd probably end up going bankrupt. They'd need huge amounts of support from the US government. I don't think they're all in to that degree. But are they all in on being EV only by 2035? Absolutely. One good thing, in Q3, GM started or ramped up initial deliveries of 2 luxury new EVs, the Lyriq SUV and the Hummer pickup. It sold 36 units of the Lyriq in its first quarter of sales. 36, basically nothing. However, it sold 411 units of the electric Hummer, up from 272 in Q2. Still not a lot. I mean, that's what, 130 per month. Additionally, sales of older generation Bolt EV models more than tripled though in Q3 after some significant price cuts. Not sure why GM felt the need to price cut those models. Already good value for what they were. Bolt EV and Bolt EV, already really good value. There is a question mark about demand for those cars considering General Motors discounted them. I don't know why they did that. An ultim battery factory recently began production in Ohio, and that will boost production of General Motors EVs in 2023. That is the best news for the company in 2022, period. That is their best news, hands down. Now let's have a look at a company who are doing really badly in the US right now and who are clearly not taking electric vehicles seriously at all. Honda. Honda's Q3 sales estimate for 2022 is 211,000 vehicles. That's a decrease of 39%. I believe Honda are in significant trouble and could potentially be bankrupt by 2030. I made a video about that. I'll put a link in the description below. Honda's Q3 sales, 222,000 vehicle deliveries, down 36% year over year. September sales came in over 79,000 as supply issues improved, the company said. Honda's Q3 sales were down from 240,000 in Q2. The stock rallied by 4.3% on Monday. However, looking at Honda's 5-year performance, it's actually worse than General Motors. 5 years ago, Honda's stock price was at $34 US. Today, it's sitting at 22. Pretty big loss to investors if you had bought 5 years ago, clearly. If you include inflation, you've lost about 50% of your original capital. However, Honda's price to earnings ratio is significantly higher than General Motors at 9. I still think Honda has a ways to fall. If you're invested in that stock, or if you're indirectly invested in that stock, I personally don't see that as a good move. But that's just my take. Just looking out for you guys, trying to make sure you keep as much money or make as much money as you possibly can. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Clearly, General Motors and Honda, the reason I've mentioned those two vehicles, those two brands, is because they actually have a joint venture planned where basically GM will be providing Honda with electric cars in the US So you can see Honda's strategy, get GM to make our cars for us. Now they presented this as a joint venture. Is it really a joint venture? Yeah, you could say that. In the same way that Nikola and General Motors also had a joint venture where GM would build the Badger electric pickup truck and then put a Nikola badge on the front.